Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. And the journey continues today. It is March 26, 2021 at approximately 8:10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And, well, we have a lot to do today. All kinds of things have been going on. The most important one from my standpoint is getting the tail end of the running around that I have to do before the end of the month, because the commitment I've made to me, and it's something I recommend you definitely do. Make a commitment to yourself. That's the only person that you really, really, really have to follow through with. And the reason I put it that way is this. If you give your word you're going to meet somebody somewhere or you're going to do something, do your absolute level best to do it. Karmic law is simple. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. When I make a commitment to myself, I'm the only one that gets disappointed. Therefore, it's the one issue I've got nobody to blame. I can't say, oh, they didn't show up for the meeting or they didn't do that task I asked them to do. It all lands on my shoulders. Now, it took me forever to get started on this. Okay, on this whole path. But after a lot of prodding from people listening to me, both on the radio, which every Friday, meaning this coming Friday, the first, not every Friday, but every first Friday of the month. So this coming Friday, I will be back on Spaced Out Radio, talking about, dealing with the ET connection, talking about aliens, talking about alien technology. That's where people come to ask questions that nobody else seems to either know how to answer to their satisfaction, or they just haven't had the opportunity. I don't know. But I do, a lot of the information that I talk about here, I do put down in booklet form so that I can, so that people can purchase it. But I'm the only one you can purchase it through at this point, which is why at the bottom of every one of these videos, I put down a list of the different books that I've written, the different pamphlets I've got together, that you can order them straight through me. Any one of the contacts will work. Okay, hopefully we get a thumbs up from you. Okay, like the video, subscribe to our channel so that you can get the rest of the information. Okay, today I am already behind. I've got another video I have to do today before my day ends, which realistically means probably early this afternoon. I might get it done before I get started here. But it's a question of getting your goals set on success. Okay, now I recently ran into some interesting situations, so I'm clearing off what I call superfluous bank accounts. Okay, pulling the money out, bringing it all into one place. It's like when a few months back, last fall, I ended up closing my storage unit down, so all of my stuff is at my house. I'm not spread out all over the city. In time, maybe I will be, but the idea there is that in time, perhaps I'll end up owning properties. Probably not one to live in, because I just don't see the point in moving, and I can't be bothered with the effort. Okay, the way I figure it is this. Now, I may be wrong. I've never claimed to be 100% accurate. Only thing I've ever told people is I will absolutely guarantee I will not lie to you to make you feel better. Okay, now my personal opinion, and my great grandfather used to swear by the idea that renting was financially more effective than buying. Now, for me, that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm going to be 58 in a month and a half here. There is no point in my spending $60,000 or $100,000 as a deposit to get into a place where I have to pay the land taxes, I have to pay I've got to pay the property taxes. Anything that goes wrong, I've got to foot the bill for. Right now, I can run my whole house on $2,000 a month. Okay, that's food, rent, utilities, the odds and ends that I desire to buy for hobbies, my own business. The whole 9 yards gets run under one roof for $24,000 a year. Easy. So I'm just bringing everything together so it's all being brought into one nucleus. Okay. Now the nice part about it is what I require, the reminders I require. Okay, I've got how much money I require listed up there. I've got a sign over here that says I am worth it, meaning it helps with my own view of myself. And rest assured, I go through some really annoying times that way. Now, when we talk about success, success boils down to this. Pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, decide what you feel makes you feel successful, makes you feel like you've accomplished something. Now, that little shelf behind me, the brown one there. Okay, I've got on my list of goals for today. If you take a look on the far right side there, I think, yeah, that's far right, where there's that little globe and the container. I'm not entirely certain what's in the container, but I have decided that that shelf will be emptied. I may still have the white container on it, but then I don't know what's in the white container offhand. But as you can see when I spin out of the way, I have managed to get the top shelves completely emptied now. Okay. And these are just little things. Okay. And we keep doing that. Okay. Really got to find a way to watch that. But they tell me that is it's a filler. Something to just plug in dead air. And on video, it's usually a bad idea to leave dead air, to leave air just hang. So we don't. Okay. Now, the way I'm looking at it is, for me, success boils down to, first of all, get debt free. Now, of course, getting debt free means buying a house becomes kind of impossible unless all of a sudden I win the lottery, which would be remarkable in the extreme. I don't buy lottery tickets. Okay, so for me to win the lottery, I literally have to find the winning lottery ticket. Because I've tried the lottery before and have very seldom gotten anything. You know, I've won a couple of free tickets on like Lotto 649, maybe $1. And at one point, the best I ever did was on a scratch and win. I won $50. So I just don't bother, because 3 years ago, I bought a full, complete sheet of scratch and win. 20 cards. Out of all 20 cards, I managed to make $2. Now, I'll tell you, right there, it was like, no, never again, we're done. Lottery and I just do not get along. It may work well for some people. I've heard remarkable tales of things that have happened. But for me, it boils down to this. Well, this is March 26th, of course, which means in 5 days, I go into and I've already talked to my son about it, I go into an extreme lockdown as far as watching what comes in, what goes out. I've indulged myself pretty heavily over the last few months. In my eyes, I've indulged myself. Now, the funny thing there is what all the money has gone to is helping a couple of people out, becoming debt-free, stockpiling my house with food, right? Getting a new washer and dryer, getting a computer system. Now, stockpiling your house with food and getting debt-free may not seem like a luxury to you. To me, it meant all the difference in the world. Okay, now what I'm doing is where's my list? I set my coffee cup on it, of course. See, some of the things that I'm looking at doing, if I can find what I'm looking for here. Yes, I'm a little scattered on occasion. I get used to it. I don't know about you. Not that one. Not that one. Here we are. There's that fine. Now, I keep telling people, put 3 things on your list. I have a tendency of getting a little carried away with things, so I always start with 12. But that's me. 12 is, from when I started looking into numerology, I found the base 10, which is your 1 to 9 master numbers. If you've looked into numerology at all, you know what I'm referring to. If not, that was probably Swahili. But I looked into it and found the base 12 works much better, much more effectively, at least for me, with 12 being the number of ultimate wisdom. If you'll notice, most successful plans for instance, for breaking addictions like alcoholism and drug addiction, this sort of thing, most of them talk about the 12-step program. Okay, that's first and foremost. Now, the nice little part about it, from your end, is I've taken a look at the 12-step program and gone, it fits with what I believe. So I've got 12 on my list. And the really neat part about it, haven't got anything accomplished yet, I don't think. Nope. Oh, I'm working on one of them. But as soon as I get done this one, then I go to the others. Because I got a little sidetracked with a few other things. Welcome to my life. Try keeping that organized. Anyway, success boils down to aiming at getting a happier life for yourself is one of the big things. Most people I talk to, I want to be happy. I want my stress to go away. Most people have this brilliant idea that, that you have to have everything really well organized by the time you're 20. Well, I'll tell you, I'm about to be 58, and I only just figured it out in the last 6 months. Most people I deal with, and considering I've been dealing in the consulting field, business and home, for what? In 47 years now, almost 48. Okay, most people haven't got a clue what they want to do when they grow up until they hit their late 40s, early 50s. Okay, in my case, I finally figured it out. So I'm getting rid of everything I don't desire, everything I don't require, all the junk is going. I've given away a staggering amount of secondhand stuff that isn't to me of any use anymore, but still has life left in it. Okay, that's one of the critical factors, and this is why I figured out how much it costs to run my household and gone, that's what I've got to have in the bank. That's what I desire to see start happening. And as that comes into balance from now on, it's just going to be a question of making sure that my bank account keeps climbing. Okay, that I keep getting what I'm aiming for without overextending myself. Now, I've managed to indulge myself, as I pointed out. Okay, these little guys, yes, I paint them. Okay, they're fantasy figures, that sort of thing. On that shelf back there, it actually has, there's a blue bin on the one shelf there. Those are all figures that are partially painted, I think. Nope, those are ones, well, the 3 front ones are ones that are partially painted. It's this shelf that's got the little white, that's a wolf over there. Okay, well, sort of a wolf, but in any event, that shelf has the figures on it that I personally have painted. The one below it and in the middle is figures I bought that were already painted completely. Rest assured, I do not paint anywhere near what the store-bought ones are like. But I indulge myself, so I've got my paints up here, and I will get to those probably the next day or two. I'll end up doing some of that here while I'm talking to you, primarily because I get bored. But to me, success is this. Is my stress level collapsing? Well, I no longer worry about finance. I mean, I pay attention to it, but I'm no longer stressed when a bill comes in. I go, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay that? And I can't pay that one yet because I got to make sure rent gets covered. And I love people that go, I've got my power bill and my TV that are both behind. I got to get my TV paid because I can't have them cut that off. Well, let's face it, if your power goes, the TV's pretty much useless. Okay, so in my opinion, the order that you worry, your mortgage or your rent, then your power, then everything else in whatever order you figure. But those ones are your critical ones because those are the ones that keep a roof over your head. Okay, now I do recommend getting your head on straight. If you're going to talk to somebody about how to do something, talk to somebody that's done it successfully. Okay, now, I am not a professional in as much as I did not go to school and learn finance. I lived the mess. When I'm talking about things that I've gone through or things that I can tell you this is the path to take, that's because I've done it. Okay, now my life is more like science fiction than anything else in all reality. Okay, and because of that, I can relate to a lot of things that you've gone through. For instance, my glasses. Yes, I still wear them, but the reality is, where it comes to reading, I now have apparently got 20/20 eyesight to read. So when I take this funny little pad and I hold it right there, I can read it clear as a bell. Okay, aside from the fact my hand's shaking, but hey, what the heck? This funny little disk drive is going to be used to clear out some of the mess I've got on my computer. And again, it's a question of what do you see as success. For me, these are just the things that I see, and maybe they relate to something you see as well. I don't know. That's for you to figure out. Or you can always drop me a line. Okay, I've consulted on personal issues, business issues for decades. Well, quite literally, like I said, it's been 47 years since I started. Almost 48. Okay, as a matter of fact, in May it will be 48. But, I think it was May. May is when I turned 58 anyway. But, I'll be more than happy to lay that out, and take a look at it, help you figure out what is necessary to get your life where you desire it, or to take your business, figure out when to expand, real simple formulas. Now, the reality of it is these are tools that I personally use. Where it comes to my home, my business, I've got this funny little thing here. You'll notice I keep notes all over the place. Okay, primarily because Post-it notes don't work. I haven't got any room. The walls that I've got just won't handle Post-it notes. But these have my personal policies for running my household, different projects that I'm actually working on, business policies, and what was this last one here? List of different see, I keep my handy where I can figure out what I'm up to. Absolutely. What is that? Oh, that's a list of different sites that I end up using when I'm posting a video. Okay. Success boils down to, are you content with what's going on? Not, is everybody else happy? Not, have you done everything perfectly? It's not a question of whether or not you're the best there is at what you do. Okay, it's a question of, are you content with your life? If you are, this is absolutely fantastic. If you're not, then it's time to own that and go, this is what I'm not content with, and start doing something about it. And the trick there is, when you figure out something you're not happy about, change it. Doesn't matter what it's changed to, because the reality is, if you change it to something that you're still not happy with, you can always change it again. Okay, now, I get a kick out of it the number of times that I get told, you've got to have a budget in place. You've got to know exactly how much money you've got to spend where. Don't go over that budget. Well, here's the funny part. If you've got a stable income, in my experience, if you've got a stable paycheck that says you get this much money this month, every month, you're good to go. Set up a budget. Go, this is how much money I can spend on utilities. This is what I've got to spend on play money. This is what I've got to do elsewhere. If you don't have an absolutely stable income, most people with their retirement, with whatever they've got set up for retirement funding, or people unfortunately on disability, have a definite paycheck coming in that they can say, that's what we've got. But if you're working, the odds are it fluctuates, paycheck to paycheck. So what I found is I track where my money goes, and I make sure on every day or 2 days, I go into my bank, online, and double check to make sure that the bank balances match my spending that's on my computer. That way I know how much money I'm working with. And when a bill comes in, I can go, yep, that's a bill. We'll go pay it. And then go up to the computer and pay the thing. Okay, now, the nice part about it from my end is this. The more relaxed I get, yes, sad to say, the more relaxed I get, the faster I start moving, it seems. The reality behind it is this. I've been up since 3:30 this morning. Okay, I think it was 3:30-ish. Okay, so I've already got 3 hours under my belt. In all fairness, I didn't get a lot accomplished. But now that I've got things started moving, Lord knows I'll get a lot accomplished today. I've got a couple of things I have to do in the way of emails to send out. But in the way of phone calls, I got nothing coming in today, just an appointment I got to go to, which is great. The reality is, though, I wake up in the morning, I've got a list of things already set up when I get up and go, this is what I got to do. And, the reality is, I even include things like I need to have time to eat breakfast. Okay. Now, people have told me for years, you have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, the reality is, from what I've discovered, that's not entirely the case. For me personally, very important I get something into my system first thing in the morning. As in, when I get up, usually within the first hour, I've got breakfast on the table for me. Now, because I'm usually up 4 hours before my son, I do not wait for him for breakfast. Sometimes I'll sit down and have second breakfast with him. Right. Well, he'll have his first breakfast, but the neat part there, and this is why I keep telling people, I'm more like, in that respect, I've got a friend that only eats one meal a day. Well, technically, so do I. I start eating in the morning and I finish at night. But I'm also on the go 24/7. Well, most of the time. I usually get 18 to 20 hours that I'm up. Like last night, I packed it in at about 10:30. I was back up by 3:30 this morning. Okay, and I've been on the go ever since. Probably would have been an idea to get something accomplished, but what the heck. Today, I've got a list of things I've got to get done. But absolutely, I know I repeat myself on these things, and like I said, the intriguing part is I hear myself repeating them going, I've said this before. Well, I have. But the sad part on my part is that I've told myself this for years, but it wasn't until I started doing the video and watching myself say these things over and over and over again that it started to sink in. Now, if I don't do my video first thing in the morning, I feel a little off kilter. And it's like the other day, I again ended up missing it until after work. I had to postpone talking to my other half. Well, I guess technically I didn't have to. But because I felt so off kilter with not having done the journey in the morning, I had to get that video out for me that night. Okay, this has become part of a normal routine for me. Okay, get up, get breakfast dealt with, make sure I've got my coffee on the go. Sometimes it's just lemon water, but the point being, get something on the go, get in, do my video, and put the journey down, and get on with it. After I do a couple of other things today, I'll end up back in here to deal with another one of the races of the world, dealing with the message from the consortium. Okay, and you'll have to watch for that. The races of the world's series I'm doing covers different alien races, different alien technologies, different schedules, modus operandi that they work with. Okay. Then of course I've got on the Sundays I try and put one out on spirituality, looking at the connections between the different churches and how the different churches, temples, and spiritual belief structures can actually work together so that we can make this a better world for everyone, not just for certain peoples. Now, while I'm talking to people, I get told, the elite are behind all the problems. Well, the reality is, the elite are simply people that have made the most of where they are. One way or another, they've gotten to be very successful in their own right. But if you think about it, an elite person is somebody that seems to have gotten a little bit further ahead. Therefore, if you live in a house, if you live even in an apartment, you're paying rent, you're paying mortgage, it's the same thing, by the way. you are in an elite status compared to the guy living on the street. Okay. So, and of course, you do have people that are like elite athletes, people that are extremely talented at certain athletics. Myself, quite frankly, I cannot run very far. Can't show you here, but well, actually, technically, I can. See that little pin right there? Okay, that's got a, that brown one there. That's a custom-made cane for me. I've been on a cane since I was 12 years old. Okay, the last couple of years, it's been pretty steady. But I do have my good days, which is why when I'm out driving, if my leg is working right, the only time I will use a handicap stall, I've got the tag for the car, but the only time I will use that stall is if my leg is actually bothering me or if parking is at a premium. Okay, and I have confronted people that have parked in there where they don't have either of those situations. That have said, no, I'm going to park there just because it's an open stall and frankly it's closer to the door. Well, no doubt the handicap stalls are. But the reality is they are for the people that have medically approved or medically verified problems with mobility. Okay, I ran into one lady the other day. Her problem wasn't physical. Her problem was she's an extreme asthmatic. And you could tell 3 steps and she was having trouble breathing. She just does not have the energy. She doesn't pull in enough oxygen to make it very far. Okay, she did have a tag for her car. But the reality is, she had a tag for her car. People like that, if they've got a tag for the car, don't worry about why they've got it. A doctor somewhere has diagnosed it and said, yes, they legitimately need that. Okay. If they didn't go to the doctor, they wouldn't have the card. So therefore, absolutely, if you see somebody parking in a handicap stall, okay, and they don't have a pass on their car, absolutely ask them about it. You know, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And for pity's sakes, if you don't legitimately have a handicap, if you don't have that sticker, do not go using it. Don't go using that stall. Okay. You've got to, there's a lot of stalls around. You might have to walk a little bit. But the reality is, you don't have the problem. Don't use the stall. I take a look at it this way. When I'm looking at success, and that's one of the big things I've got to get, I started working on it. You should probably finish one thought at a time. What do you think? I've got this philosophy that when I get an idea in my head, I tend to write it down, which is where I end up with the different books. Once the contract that I'm just in the middle of getting mobile, once it starts to move, then I'll look at getting more books added to the same contract. Because the way I look at it, that's where I will be able to finally sit back, carry on doing what I'm doing, which is writing, which is talking to you. In all fairness, I'm probably talking to myself more often than not. Get in your head what it is you're not content with. And remember one thing, in order to be successful, you personally are the only one that can do it. Okay. Now, there are 4 things that you have to have for to become successful. Once you've identified what that is for you, you've got to have a purpose. In this case, we'll talk the purpose, becoming successful in my eyes. Okay. Then you have to have a plan. How do I go from where I am to where I see success? Well, the first rule of thumb is don't worry so much about what you may like down the road. Look at what you've got right in front of you. Ask yourself, am I content with what I've got? Am I happy with this? When you eliminate the things out of your life you're not content with, you will find that all of a sudden, all you're left with is the things you are happy with. Okay, for instance, I wanted to be debt-free. I'd get phone calls and I would ignore my phone. I don't know if I was afraid of it or just tired of explaining it. Okay, because all I was getting was phone calls from people going, you owe us X number of dollars. And me going, but I don't have any money. Right? So I would avoid my phone altogether. Now when the phone rings, I just pick it up and go, oh, okay, so it's you. Right? And talk to whoever it is. I have no idea over the last number of years how many phone calls I've missed because of it. Okay. But with that in mind, I will be back again tomorrow morning at some point. At least that's the theory. But I will be back tomorrow. So until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.